You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore. You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this channel are of the host and not of LadyJ Media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What Up Baltimore TV. And if you really don't want to miss any of the shows, hit that notification bell and you'll get a message every time we come on. Now, we got it from here, so sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. LadyJ. We are here talking about organ donors, organ donation, saving lives. We're talking about the importance of being informed, not misinformed, but being informed. So I have two ladies on here. Both of them are transplant recipients, and they're going to talk a little bit, just give us some education about this whole donation process and what it entails. And then the great thing about it, as I always say, in our community, in the African-American community, we don't like to have this discussion. A lot of people don't like to donate because there's this myth. I'm going to say myth about organ harvesting. I know that does happen, but I think that we think it happens to the point that some people won't even put on their driver's license that they want to be an organ donor because they told me they feel like, they may be killed just so their organs, can be given to somebody else. So we want to talk about all of that because the bottom line is that you never know when you might be the one that needs an organ. That's the thing. So I have Jamie Imhoff on here. Jamie's been with us before, and Jamie's going to give us some information that's going to help us. And we also have Latoya. This is her first time, so we want to welcome her to the show. So we're going to jump right into it, ladies. Jamie, I'm going to ask you to just start off and give us a little bit of information, what we were talking about as far as the data and everything about organ donation. And then I also want to hear a little bit about your stories. And at the end of all of this, let's just tell people how they can donate. All right. So everybody, this is Jamie Imhoff.
Hello, everyone. So my name's Jamie. I am a liver transplant followed by a kidney, both recent. So I'm a year out and the kidney's only 6 months out from Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. There's only 2 transplant hospitals in Maryland, and they are both in Baltimore. And I also am an ambassador for Donate Life and of Donate Life Maryland and our local OPO and UNOC, United Organ Sharing Network. I can tell more about my story later, but I really want to start this out with some stats for you all. And these are available to see online from our government. But as of today in the state of Maryland, there are about a little over 2,000 people waiting for a life-saving organ. Okay. And what's pretty staggering of that amount, if we look at a breakdown for ethnic group, and that's kind of what this show is going to feature, is that you have a staggering amount that 37% of them are in the African American community, which is pretty disproportional compared to the actual percentage for the state. And then of the ones that were added today, which are not today, on the 3rd, so it's always 24 hours behind, there was about 600 added, and 40% of those were also African American. And what's even more amazing to think about is that kidneys do compromise of the deceased list the largest need for an organ. The bulk of people are on dialysis. They are literally dying on dialysis, unfortunately. Dialysis, whereas it may save you for a little while, it does not save you for a long time. And there are currently 54% of the African American community are waiting on a life-saving kidney as of today. So I just wanted to just start the show with some of those incredible statistics and then turn it over to you guys.
Wow. You know what really troubled me is when you said there are people who are on dialysis who are dying. That's really troubling. Oh my goodness. I actually have a couple of friends right now who are on dialysis, and a couple of weekends ago, my friend's wife called me and she was so upset because quite a few of the staff members had called out at the dialysis center, and they told her that he couldn't do his treatment that day. And she was just so upset because, of course, that's, to save his life. But, I'm hearing more and more of those stories of people who are just having a hard time with machines that come home. They're sending them home with machines. The machines are breaking down over and over and over again. Family members are having to do this whole dialysis thing, and some of them have never even been anywhere near the medical field, and so it's just a lot with it. And in the meanwhile, people are dying. That's the sad part. So Latoya, tell us a little bit about you and what you'd like to share about this.
My name is Latoya Rolette. I've been an organ donor. I registered when I was 20 years old. When I was 39 years old, I received my heart transplant the day after Thanksgiving. After walking into the hospital in critical condition and having to wait for my organ there. So it'll be 2 years in November that I've gotten a heart transplant.
Wow. And how's it going for you? I wanted to ask you that.
I haven't had any complications whatsoever. I think they said after this last biopsy to make sure there's no rejection that I shouldn't have to have any more invasive tests for a while. It'll just be the blood test.
Wow. Okay. And I wanted to talk about that too, because with some of the organ donations, is it true that sometimes your body can reject that organ?
Yes. There can be multiple complications. It could be that the medicine doesn't work. It could be if you have comorbidity issue and you get sick, that can cause rejection.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't reliably take your medication, that can cause rejection. We've had a couple of people we knew, they had complications where they got sick and then that kind of escalated into
Mm-hmm.
organ rejection. So everybody is different.
Yeah. But did you, and I'm going to ask you too, Jamie, Latoya, did you have any problems after getting your heart transplant?
No, it's just the normal process of the adjusting to the medication and the side effects. And the trauma of the surgery kind of led to me having fibromyalgia. That was probably the biggest issue I had afterwards, but I didn't have any like serious, like life-threatening issues.
Now, have you been able to like go back to your normal life, work, and all of that stuff?
Yes, I got my surgery in November. I went back to work the following school year in August. So they put
Oh,
me out for the rest of the school year, and then that following school year, they cleared me to go back to work. So I've been working ever since.
okay. And what about you, Jamie? Have you had any problems? I think we talked about it before, but for those who may not know, have you had any problems with your transplant?
So I required a liver. I had no history of any kidney disease. Unfortunately, now this is very rare. So I do not want people to think this will happen. But with my liver transplant, I had immediate kidney failure just due to the transplant and the medicines. So I luckily fell under the grace of a safety net kidney within the first year from organ transplant, and I received that as well. But I did also have a mild rejection for the liver, but it's immediately treated, and since then it's been perfectly fine. In all likelihood, I'm not looking at anything for that liver wise. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
kidneys do face rejection for the rest of their lives. It's just what they do, but they look for something a little bit different. But that's just kind of the difference between the two. So
And you've been able to pretty much go on with your life as well,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
How long has it been for you?
So it's been a year, a little over a year for the liver, and 6 months for the kidneys. At 3 months kidneys, I was walking 5 miles every day. I still do
Okay.
walk 5 miles every day. Just want to point that out. I pretty much have a very, other than precautions, I have a very normal life. I swim. I mean, let's just put it this way: on dialysis, I did absolutely nothing. There was nothing. I got maybe a few good hours a week. That's it, and the rest of it
Okay.
was dialysis and then recovering from dialysis. Now I
Wow.
can do everything. You know,
Wow.
so
Wow. That's
very big
awesome.
difference.
That's good news. That's really good news. And so, Latoya, I wanted to ask you, um, well, you heard what I said about our community and how it is. Have you heard those things as well?
Oh, yes. A few months ago, earlier in the year on Twitter, somebody went viral when they were like, when you get your license, when they ask you to be an organ donor, say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I responded to that and I said, actually, we need organs. So if you and I kind of pointed out the scarcity of resources it has when Black people need organs because of that bias. When we need organs, we don't have them. So you
Right.
need to register so that you can save our community when they need us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
I also pointed out that I've been an organ donor since I was 20. They had every opportunity to let me die. I've never smoked a day in my life. I got top tier lungs, top tier kidneys. They could have harvested all of that.
Mm-hmm.
No organ donor, but they didn't. They saved my life and they gave me an organ. So
Right.
equity of
Right.
care the same in every state? No. But is the equity of care good enough for you to trust the process so that when you need an organ, you can have one? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the conversation that we have to have more and more, especially in our community. Not only having the conversation, but actually seeing faces that look like us, who have been recipients and who have also been donors, because I think that would help as well. In people wanting to give. And so, Jamie, tell us about the job that you're doing now with the Red Cross.
So I'm also a Red Cross ambassador on top of that as well, and we deal with the multifaceted. So this we actually make up 40% of the blood bank of America, and again, also getting people out in, especially in the inner city, for life-saving donations. And then we also participate in a lot of programs for our residents. Emergency disaster relief is one. Just so you guys know, there's over 400 fires every year in Baltimore City alone, and we're the people who come in right behind and help people with just even like relocation, we're getting supplies. We also go out with the local fire department and help install fire alarms and even
Mm-hmm.
explain what a carbon monoxide thing is. But yeah, there's multiple things, and people can volunteer. 90% of our workforce is volunteer. But when I signed up to do a lot of programs with Donate Life, just to let you guys know, like liver transplants require so much blood and plasma and platelets. And I'm sure I don't know if Latoya, if you looked at yours and how much you received. So there's multiple ways that people can get involved with the gift of life that
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be people aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jamie, how long did you have to wait for your organs before there was a match for you?
So my liver was immediate. The way livers work, they're a bit different than all the other organs. Livers cannot be mechanically reproduced at all, period. So the sicker you are, the sooner you get transplanted. That's just the way it is. And so that's not true for kidneys. And so I got transplanted immediately because I was the top level of being sick. And then for my kidney, because it fell within that first year allocation, I was transplanted 7 months later, but I still had to go through a lot of procedures in order to receive that. It was still a gift. It wasn't just automatically given. I had to earn it as
Right.
well. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow.
But there's
And
people, I just want you guys to know, there's people who are waiting on the kidney list 3 to 5 years for a
yeah.
kidney because it doesn't matter how sick you are. That's not the way it works. You have to follow so many qualifications. And so by not being out there for the community, and I want to speak more on that, and helping out dialysis centers and getting these people ready for transplant. That's really hurting us too.
Hmm. Wow. And Latoya, how long was the wait for you?
Well, in my case, I've been evaluated for transplant twice. So they started evaluating me for transplant in 2019 and decided not to list me because, even though my numbers were bad, I was still working, so I wasn't sick enough. And
Hmm.
then 2 years later, I had a new doctor look at those papers and they're like, on paper, you qualify. Why weren't you listed? And I was like, well, I was still working. And they said I wasn't sick enough. So by the
Oh.
time I went into the hospital, I was in critical condition. So I went
Mm.
kind of unofficially waiting for years to officially waiting for 5 weeks because they
Wow.
too sick to leave the hospital. So I had to wait 5 weeks in the hospital for my transplant.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. And I know this is the answer no, but is there ever a time when the recipient is able to meet the donor or find out who the donor is?
They have a an organization called Living Legacy. So they
Hmm.
encourage you to wait a little bit after your transplant, and then after some time has passed, you can write to your donor. Um, they are allowed to read your letter and choose whether or not they respond. So some people meet their donors and some people don't.
Okay.
I haven't sent my letter. I'm working my way up to it. Hopefully my family responds because I actually would like to know more about my person. I think about them every day. But
Mhm.
some people meet them and some people don't.
So do you get when you're getting the organ, do you get a history of, like, did it come from a child? Did it come from an adult, an older person? Like, do they give you a history of where it's coming from?
Did they tell you, Jamie? I don't know anything about my donor.
Yeah, I got well, it was a mix of at first, but now that it's clarified, I know for sure. But see, what's really I really want to state this is that the only information that you are given possibly is just simply age and sex, and that's it. Not even you don't
Okay.
even get to pick an image of what this person looks like. So as of right now, I have a 37-year-old male, and they will often tell you the manner of death. I don't quite know his, other than his was a COVID positive liver. But
Mhm.
I received a 35-year-old female, and she did pass away from a brain aneurysm.
Oh, wow.
So they did. And that's where I wanted to speak on that really quick. When I go back to what Latoya said, is that in order to be an organ donor, you literally have to be in the hospital on life support. And so they have to do everything they possibly can to save your life first
Mhm.
before, and you have to meet very stringent qualifications, of meaning like this, there's just no more we can do, and often the family even gets to put side in. So like for my case, I was so sick that they wanted me on hospice, and my family intervened and said no, because I could have donated like what was left that was actually still, because I've also been registered organ donor since I was 16,
Mm.
but they're going to do everything first to save you,
Right.
and then go from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then let me ask you all this: because I kind of feel like if I was to get an organ, um, that do you go through any, like, I don't want to say mental trauma, but do you go through any type of emotional stuff or depression because that person died, and in order for them to die, you got their organ. I'm just thinking of all the different things that people may feel after getting an organ.
Yes, I had a really hard time right after. I had a hard time after my original diagnosis when I was 28. It's very traumatic physically and mentally. The evaluation process is traumatic. Some of those tests are brutal. Um, Being on life support for weeks and feeling multiple organs in my body shut down is traumatic. At one point, I was on dialysis. I had a tube in my neck connected to the
Mm.
dialysis machine. I had tubes on this side going to IVs that were keeping my heart. I had implanted heart pump that was keeping me alive. I had the wound pump, and you go through most of that while you're awake. Like
Mm.
when they do the test where they stick the tubes in, they don't put you all the way out for that. So it can be very traumatic. And there, statistically, I believe our friend Sam told us that up to 30% of people who receive organs can deal with PTSD symptoms and anxiety. I had a therapist early in the spring. I joined the support group because I was struggling. I was crying every day. I couldn't
Mhm.
put food down. I was sick. I was miserable. I was anxious. So a lot of people, that support group that we're in really helps us because it's a struggle adjusting, to your life and your new symptoms, maybe new restrictions, maybe favorite foods you can't have anymore.
Mhm.
Um, Going through my transplant in the middle of the Omicron variant spreading everywhere. So I was extremely isolated because top of being immune suppressed, you've got to avoid, a virus that's spreading very easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was traumatic. Having to cut all my hair off in March because it had fallen out. So
Mm.
everybody's different, and sometimes um, you need that extra support. You need someone to talk to, and you need that extra help because this is a it's a lot. It's a blessing to still be here, but it's
Mhm.
a lot. And sometimes you do have those days where you just need someone to encourage you, and you just need that professional support.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That is so much for just one person to deal with. That's a lot. And Jamie, what about you? Did you go through any of those things?
So I had her exact same story, except one more thing added to it. Liver failure comes with HE as well, and that's when ammonia builds up in your brain, and you are literally in a different world. And you're paranoid, you're delusional, you're angry, you're violent, I was restrained, all that kind of stuff and everything. And you like don't even are aware. You're not aware of what's going on, but you're extremely aware of something, just not what's occurring. So a lot of liver transplants or before that, they actually they're the ones who think they're being harvested. So they'll try to escape prior. It's not funny, but we tell these stories. And so that's just a very ugly failure. But after I was transplanted, I didn't have a lot of time in a sense for grief because I was still trying to piece it all together as I was coming to and everything was coming to and like the coma you mentioned and all that stuff. And then now next thing you know, I'm have this tube in my chest, this big tube, and I'm having permanent dialysis. You know, I started with the neck dialysis as well, and then here. And then for me, it became more of an obligation to my donor to when I realized that these kidneys weren't coming back to do everything I possibly can. So all I did was just focus on kidneys and wasn't even so much for myself. It was for the gift, to be honest with you, because I didn't want to go to waste, you know,
Right.
because I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to talk again. I had to learn to swallow. I had to learn all of that stuff, you know, 3 months post in the hospital. So I say now I'm starting to finally comprehend. Like I haven't done my letters yet either. I got my stuff for it. They're kind of written in my head, but I haven't even like I don't know how I imagined it. I don't know. I think I'm gonna be very emotional when that moment finally occurs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when that letter, if one of the two even writes back, you know, then sometimes I think I'll cry a little bit, and then but then I don't want to get too hyped up because I'm like, what if they don't? So those are what goes through my head, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you all go to therapy, or do they recommend that you go to therapy after, during, before, during, and after this?
Yeah, it is recommended that you go before and after because a lot of people feel that period of depression and anxiety, and some of it is caused by the medication we're on. Like if you're on prednisone and you're not used to that, prednisone can very easily affect your emotions. It can give you anxiety, it can give you irritability, it can make you feel sad. So they do recommend that you have therapists, and some of our friends do get extra help through therapy. I had it for a few months and then I felt a lot better. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's for and sometimes it's ongoing. Everybody is different.
Yeah. Wow. See, these are the things that we have to talk about to let people know what it is really like. And when somebody like the two of you, when you're facing life and death, like the conversations about why we shouldn't donate, like that's out the window, because at this point in time you need a transplant, and so that's why we have to have these conversations. And so Latoya, you being an African American woman, what would you say to the people in our community as far as donate?
I think what it is they think they'll never need an organ, so that's not really their issue. But what happened to me is in the early 2000s, the Hopkins doctors, their theory is I caught a virus that caused a condition called pericarditis. Sometimes viruses are inflammatory in nature. They cause inflammation, and if you don't treat that inflammation, it causes permanent scar tissue. So I
Mm-hmm.
got a virus, some random cold virus, because this is way before COVID, that left scar tissue all over my heart, and it started to fail in my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So that can happen. Anything random like that can happen to anyone. And you're going to need that organ if that happens. Like, organ failure doesn't discriminate, it doesn't pick and choose certain groups. It can happen to anyone. So this
Right.
is everyone's issue. And what I was talking to Jamie earlier, for the second year in a row, the US life expectancy has declined.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, America's getting sicker. It's a combination of systemic issues and the personal choices that people make. And so it's really something we all have to address. We all have to find ways to be healthier, and we all have to find ways to support each other when those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people fault of their own. Like in my 20s, I was exercising, I was eating healthy, but I've always worked around children, and children are always sick. So
Mm-hmm.
I caught something working with kids, and it just got the better of me. So
Right.
had I not had that organ, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be continuing to teach. And I do a lot of talking to the people I know in my community, like, hey, it's okay to be an organ donor. This
Mm-hmm.
is you should think about. It's okay. You can save at least 5 people's lives. just
Right.
making a decision, because different organs can go to different people. I think one recipient said that she knows her donor saved at least 7 people's lives,
Mm.
at least
Wow.
one, and that's helping more people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can really make a difference just making that one decision for your community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, I think I shared this before. My cousin was actually hit by a car. He was shot in a car. And, uh, that was my first time actually seeing that whole process of he had passed, but they had to keep him on the machines to keep the organ warm, and his chest was still moving up and down. And I know it was the machine, but it was playing with my mind. And I was having a lot. I was honest. I was having a lot of back and forth in my mind about, do I really want to put my family through this? Because I was watching his mother, because he definitely wanted to donate his organs, and I think he helped like 7 or 8 people. But it was just the trauma that his mom through, the family, having to wait. He's gone, but he looks like he's sleeping. And so it is a lot. And I just think, this conversation is just so important for everybody, because we don't know when it's going to happen to us, our children. Like we just don't know. So it's just a really, really important conversation. Jamie and I had actually it was her idea. She suggested that we come on like maybe every other week, and just bring more awareness to this particular topic. Now, what I've seen, or maybe I'm just noticing it, it seems like there's a lot of dialysis places popping up everywhere. And I've never seen so many dialysis centers in my life. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I know it has to be big business, number one, big business, but there are a lot of centers. Have you all seen that or noticed that?
Yes, and the reason is heart health and kidney health are very closely connected. So if one organ struggles, the other one struggles.
Mm,
The urine, the things, the impurities that your kidneys are removing, they're coming out of your bloodstream. So when your heart is struggling and that fluid builds up and it's not circulating properly, your kidneys struggle. So
mm,
usually, once you have heart failure, kidney failure follows. That's how I ended up on dialysis, because once my heart really was in the end stages of heart failure, I
mm,
started to have multiple organ failure. So my liver, I started to be jaundiced, my kidneys were failing, my digestive system stopped working. So all of those things are connected. So you're seeing a lot of dialysis because Americans have a big issue with heart disease, huge.
mhm,
So
mhm,
once they start having those heart issues, the kidneys start having issues too.
mhm. Both of you are really walking miracles. I want you to know that. Like, I'm listening to your story, and it's definitely heartwarming, a little heart wrenching too, just hearing everything that you went through. And to look at you now, to see that, to see where you are now. And again, this is why we have to talk about it. So Jamie, we're going to close out in a few minutes, but I want you to share some things with us as far as how people can become organ donors.
Sure. So one of the main ways is just to go to www.registerme.org. You can sign up from there. Just so everyone knows, you can be a registered donor. You do not have to have the heart on your license if you don't want it. Okay. So if you'd like it, it will make it easier to identify, but it doesn't change the process. They still have to go through the same process at the hospital and the same authorizations and all of that. So if you don't want the heart, you can opt out for that. You have to do it one time. That's it. And then it can carry with you, and you just go on a national list. But the most important thing about this is that you let your loved ones know your final wishes. If it's in writing, have the conversation over and over and over again. I mean, most of these passings, unfortunately, are tragic, are sudden, are unexpected. And like you went through, it just leaves everybody making rapid decisions
Mm-hmm.
quickly, not even being able to process emotional things. So if you have those plans set forth, then it makes it a lot easier. And
Yeah.
then additionally, you can be a registered organ donor till pretty much 95. So, and then health reasons, just one more thing, health reasons are just, there's only active metastasized cancer is really the only participating factor. If you think that like, oh, well, I have diabetes, that doesn't mean that your tissues, that your corneas, that your skin, that your liver even aren't just in perfect health, So a lot of people think that like, because of this issue that they're just completely, useless in a sense. And that's not true at all.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so you said, I didn't know that. I'm just learning that. You're saying that people can donate up to their 90s?
Yeah.
They can, wow. And what's the youngest?
I mean, we do pediatric transplantations all the time. So,
Really?
and yeah, there's a lot of babies that are born in kidney failure. Also, heart failure is a big one too, and liver failure too. And they have beautiful stories. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know a baby that got she got her liver transplant at 9 months. And she is healthy and running around now. She's active, she's vocal, life is full.
Oh
She's
my goodness.
Yes,
Wow.
like I said, it can happen to anyone at any age, at any time. You could need an organ.
Mm.
And I
Wow.
think the driver's license thing, I think, is huge because I think that will make a lot of people feel more comfortable being donors if it's not on their driver's license. Because I think it's the fear of that lack of control. Because you can't make your decisions unconscious, and they have this fear that, oh, they're unconscious, oh, there's a heart on their license, let's get these organs. But
Right.
knowing that at least they have control over that might make people more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. So ladies, anything you want to share before we go? And we're definitely, Latoya, you're always welcome to come back and join us anytime you like. We're going to actually set this up where we come together every other Tuesday and we have conversations and talk about what's going on out there. Maybe something, because in the medical field stuff can change overnight. I worked in it for 25 years. It can change overnight. So just to keep people up to date with everything that's going on. And again, there are quite a few people who watch us who have husbands, children, people who are waiting for organs. And so I think it's going to be an encouragement to them. So Jamie, I'll let you say your piece, and then we'll have Latoya.
Sure. I just wanted to thank everybody for listening and just to share our stories. I mean, we're very vocal about them. I mean, the last statistic I really want to leave everyone is that in the state of Maryland, I think it's either between 12 or 14% more likely and needed to ever receive a transplant than to ever be a donor in your entire life. So just keep that in mind. And just by simply saying the word yes, you don't know. Unfortunately, we can't predict what the future is, but we can at least, you can't take with you, so leave it behind for somebody else.
Right.
That's really my saying.
Wow. Thank you, Jamie. And Jamie, I gotta tell you, like, I love reading your posts and everything because you're just always so upbeat all the time, despite everything that you've gone through. And I really think that makes a difference in your healing as well. A change mindset is truly important. And Latoya, what would you like to leave with us?
I would like to say I understand distrust of the medical community, but do the work to find a doctor who listens and find a doctor you trust. I'm very picky about who my primary care doctors are and who I trust with my body. I'm very vocal. I do the research and advocate for myself. Like, I know my creatinine levels, I know what my body is. And if
Yep.
I feel like a doctor's not making a decision in my best interest, I will be vocal and stand up for myself. So
Absolutely.
find a doctor you trust. If you're comfortable with a doctor that looks like you, go through your insurance company and see who's available and build that relationship with a doctor you trust so that you don't have that fear of the medical community not making decisions in your best interest, because not all doctors are equal. So
That's
do that work and find a doctor you trust. Also, I'm doing the family fun run for Donate Life October 29th. I did it 9.5 months after my transplant last year. I'm going to do it again and see if I can beat my time.
So you have to actually run?
You don't have to.
Because I can run maybe a block. After that, I'm pretty you're pretty much out of it.
They
But
have lots of options. Yeah, you can run the 5K, you can walk the 5K, you can do a 1K, you can just support virtually. So
oh,
Yeah, for Donate Life, they have multiple ways that you can participate in the family fun run, but it was really rewarding to do that. And my dad and my husband did it with me, and it just was a major like goal mark for me. It was something to work towards that used to keep me going after the transplant, to fight to get back to feeling independent, feeling strong.
Mhm.
Um, it's something that I'm going to continue to do because it also brings awareness and encourages people to be donors.
So,
Where, where, do-
lady,
where do
yeah,
they hold?
I got you. So, Lady J, so you'll go to
Okay.
donatelifefunrun.org. It's in Baltimore, actually, and it's on October 29th. So that's when it starts, October at 9 a.m. And it is a walk and run too. And there's going to be a lot of people there. So, or you can also do it virtually too,
Now,
as well. And
what are the hours?
it's all day.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
all day. Okay.
Event. So there's but yeah, so donatelifefunrun.org for all
Okay.
the details. Yeah, right. And then there's stories, supporters. You can you don't have to be a recipient. You can just be a registered donor. You can know somebody waiting, or even somebody who's suffering from kidney disease and may not be able to ever have a transplant. You don't know, but still find out advice for how them to manage whatever conditions that they might currently have. So
That actually sounds like fun. I want to look at my calendar and see if I'm available. I know I would probably have to do it like in the morning time if I am available, but I definitely, that's something that I would, as long as I can walk, I'm good. I can do the walking. I can walk forever, but the running, oh my goodness, no. They would have to pick me up after a while. Probably Black, you have to pick me up. So I just think running is a gift. I just can't do it. But walking, I walk a lot. Like I love walking. So I'm definitely going to check it out. And Jamie, give us that site one more time for
sure.
everybody.
So all one word, donatelifefunrun.org.
All right, everybody.
You can
Don't
register right from there. Yep. And it's on all social media too.
Okay, good. I gotta put that on my page too. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight for this really, really great, candid conversation. Thank you for your transparency because what you have shared tonight, I'm pretty sure is going to help somebody else, may inspire somebody to, become a donor. Who knows? But that's why we keep talking about it. So, the thing is, the more you talk about something, the more people start listening and they get involved. So we're going to continue to have the conversation. And Jamie, thank you for that idea of, actually doing this. And I hope you all have a great night. I really, as you go forward in life, I just wish you much success and really, really good health, so you never have to go through what happened to you, a few years ago. So thank you so much, everybody. My name is Dr. Lady J. If you are an organ donor, or even if you have questions and you like to come on and maybe ask the ladies, or, I know Jamie has some other people who may be coming on, but if you want to come on, you can actually come on the screen and you can ask the questions. Or if you're in a situation right now where you're having some issues as far as these dialysis centers and all that kind of stuff. Come on out and let's talk about it, because this is a whole community of people who may be able to help you and give you some advice. So everybody have a good night. Have a great night. Be blessed. Do me a huge favor, as I always ask you. I don't ask you all for much, but I do need you to share the video. Go to the YouTube page, which is What Up Baltimore TV, and subscribe, and make sure you share this video, because this right here is super important, and we never ever know, God forbid that we have to go through this, but we just never know. So ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on, and you all have a blessed night. Everybody be safe. And make sure you tune in a couple of weeks. We'll be back again having another conversation about organ donation. Thanks, everybody.
Night.
Just wanted to let you know that the host of this show appreciates the time that you've spent with them. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to What Up Baltimore online radio, where the people have the power.
Right.